This is a CBC podcast. Podcasts. Man, there are so many of them out there. Hit it! Podcast Playlist collects, selects, dissects the best. Podcast Playlist with hosts Matt Galloway and Lindsay Michael. Now with its own brand spanking new podcast. Imagine that. Find it at cbc.ca/podcast playlist or subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app.
Well, you may think of them as mythical creatures, but mermaids are real. Sort of. Over the past 15 years, mermaids have become more prominent as both performers and athletes. Putting on a mermaid tail and going for a swim strengthens your core and allows you to have a little bit of fun. This weekend, Halifax Mermaids are coming to Sussex. They teach children of all ages how to be a mermaid, from swimming to posing for photos. Stephanie Brown, whose stage name is Raina Mermaid, is co-owner of Halifax Mermaids. Good morning, Ms. Brown.
Good morning from Nova Scotia.
How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. And I had never heard of this before, to tell you the truth.
Well, that's fine. We don't always swim up your way. We usually get there once a year, and we're happy to be coming again. Just a little nervous about the snow.
No doubt, as we all are. So hopefully you folks have some good travel weather for you. What exactly are Halifax Mermaids?
So Halifax Mermaids, the buzzword that we use is edutainment. We base our company off of a curriculum that believes that children learn the best through play experiences when they're using their imagination. And these long-term studies are coming out showing that it sets children up for later success in life, both in school and in their jobs and as adults with their coping skills. So we create these play experiences, whether it's coming to teach lessons like what we're doing in Sussex, or sometimes we're doing environmental education workshops. Sometimes we're doing performances with an ocean-based message. So we've got these big silicone prosthetic mermaid tails that we wear, and they're very realistic looking, which is really fun because we like to encourage the children to play pretend with us. And we're going to be coming to Sussex to be giving mermaid workshops where kids can try on a mermaid tail and learn to swim.
What made you want to become a mermaid?
Well, I had a bit of a struggle with chronic illness as a child and a young adult, and I saw a woman performing as a mermaid, and I found it very inspiring. She looked incredibly graceful, and I thought, I want to do that because I'm anything but graceful. And it took a few years to get to that level. I wasn't the best mermaid in the beginning. I think I wore a life jacket the first time I tried a mermaid tail on. But also in Nova Scotia, there's not a lot of work for teachers, and that's what my background is in. I have a degree in child development, and I have a degree in education. So I wanted to create a job where I could use my education and utilize my passion for entertainment and my love of the ocean. And I just never expected it to take off the way it has. We're recognized internationally. We've won awards. I've published books now, and we tour frequently, and it's just really become a dream job.
And there is a history of mermaid culture, I guess. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it dates back 100 years with Annette Kellerman, who was this Australian woman who was breaking records back in a time when women and men weren't really considered equal. She was beating men at all these Olympic-type swimming events, and she performed in aquariums in a mermaid tail that she made, and she went on to do amazing things. She was one of the first female movie stars. She did a movie that cost $1 million to make, and later on, I think it was in the 50s, Esther Williams portrayed her in a movie called $1 Million Mermaid. She wrote the very first fitness book, and she did a lot of volunteering for the Red Cross, and she just really actually inspired me on my journey. In the late 50s, early 60s, we saw the rise of the Weeki-Wachee Mermaids in Florida. They have a giant underwater theater where women would perform and swim, and they still do to this day. I recently visited them in November and watched a 75-year-old woman don a mermaid tail, and she really put my skills to shame. She'd been doing it since the 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, and now in recent times, especially in the United States, it's become standard to have mermaids perform at aquariums. There's a lot of businesses similar to ours. Mermaids are getting a lot of work in the film industry. We've done some as well. And it's just really become this fascination in pop culture. So it's a really good time to be a mermaid.
And why do you see it as a feminist practice?
Well, it really empowers women. It draws so many women, and it's this entrepreneurial field that is really women dominated, which is just so cool. And when you look at the cultural stories of mermaids, there's this really split thing. On one end you've got women who are seen as really strong and powerful, and you don't want to make them angry. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have these women who are goddesses of life and water and fertility, and it's quite the spectrum. And in terms of sort of modern day, I find that it's really encouraging young girls towards physical fitness, which is something that can sometimes be hard to do because it comes with issues of body insecurity and just the way popular media sort of presents things. So we really love that we can empower young girls towards physical fitness and make them feel good about themselves. And mermaid swimming, actually the monofins, and it can burn up to 500 calories an hour. So it's really great for, concerns around childhood obesity as well.
It doesn't necessarily look that easy. What exactly is mermaid swimming? How do you do it?
So our tails, the professional level tails, it's about 40 pounds of silicone, which sounds really heavy, and it is on land, but the second you get into water, it's quite buoyant, so we actually put weights on our tails as a counterbalance. The fin is made out of fiberglass, and your feet are together, locked, encased in silicone, so it takes a lot of training. You do the dolphin kick, and you work with your core, and many mermaids like myself, we train our breath hold, and it's very similar to free diving, so I can actually hold my breath for 2.5 minutes, and I do that performing sometimes. Locally here we have the Aquatron, which is a huge aquarium in Dalhousie University. For kids, we have plastic fins, plastic and rubber, and both of their feet do go into it, and they have a safety release so the kids can get it off. And we tend to train them in the monofin first, and then for kids that are very competent swimmers, we add a spandex tail over top that really gives them the feeling of being a mermaid. And they're very lightweight and breathable, and the water flows through them. So, I think they have a combined weight of like 1.5 pounds. So nowhere near the weight that I'm dealing with mine.
Well, you mentioned the safety release. Are there safety issues?
There's been a lot of concern. It's sort of a buzz thing in the media because I think the world is sort of catching on that this is becoming a huge trend. So there's a lot of concern about, drowning and things like that. And, I think that's fair. You're getting children to put their feet, into one unit. They're not able to be bipedal. But I do want to say there's never, ever been a drowning, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. So with Halifax Mermaids, we really try to promote safety. A lot of parents will just put their kids in a fin and toss them in a pool and think that they're going to be able to magically swim like a mermaid, and it doesn't work that way. They need to be competent swimmers. They need to know how to get the tail off in an emergency. They need to know how to float if they panic, and those are all skills that we're going to teach them, and we do it under the watchful eyes of lifeguards, and we are skilled professionals. So I would just say to anybody who has purchased one already for their child or is thinking of purchasing one, you have to be willing to invest the time with your child or have a professional invested, and you have to watch them. You can't just let your kids swim unsupervised because that is when something awful could happen, and we just don't want that to happen.
What was your reception in Sussex like last year?
It was huge. We had over 100 kids. We did have some boys come, which was really great. They enjoyed it. We had, I think, as young as 3 all the way up to 17. It was just so much bigger than we could possibly imagine, which is why we spread it out to two days this time. Last year it was just Saturday. Now we're doing Saturday and Sunday because the poor mermaids couldn't keep up with all the kids. The facility is the Potash Civic Corp pool, and it's a beautiful facility. We felt a little spoiled swimming in salt water as opposed to chlorine, and very nice and warm, and just wonderful staff. So we're looking forward to it again this year.
And what can children expect when they do show up on Saturday or Sunday?
So we will give them a lesson. The facility is also going to provide light snacks. We're going to do a little photo shoot with the kids, which is going to be really fun. So the photo shoot will be both. There'll be some in the pool, and there'll be some in another room with a backdrop. There's arts and crafts. We're going to be giving out little treasures and signed postcards for them as well. And we just hope it's going to, foster a little bit of community spirit with the girls and get them having fun. And I think it's going to be a blast. I'm really excited for it. I look forward to it every year.
And should people pre-register, or is it just a drop-in?
Yeah, it is pre-registered, and it's on the website for the facility. It's also there's also information on their Facebook group if you look at Potash Civic Corp, and it's also on our Halifax Mermaid Facebook page. There is a banner there with all the information as well.
Well, safe travels to Sussex and safe swimming too.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Nice to talk to you, Stephanie. Bye-bye. Stephanie Brown, or Raina Mermaid, is the co-owner of Halifax Mermaids. The Girls Empowerment Workshop, Swim with a Mermaid, as she mentions, takes place this weekend.